I've been praying for y'all, every person today, that you would enjoy tonight, that you would go away refreshed, challenged in your walk with the Lord, that, claiming that God knows the hearts of each person here, the family dynamics, the struggles each of you have or will have. And we've just been praying that. And the three of us met earlier and prayed for you all and prayed for us that we would be empty vessels used for Christ. And it's a privilege to be able to share what we're going to share tonight with you. So I'm Rhonda, this is Daniel. And some of you met him last month, and of course some of you have seen him over the years. But Daniel's going to be sharing part of his story with cancer, and then a lot of other things that happened in December that are exciting things. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you. And this is Gabi. And Gabi's part of the story that will be unfolded here in a few minutes. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you so you know. Gabi has been a very dear friend of our family's since really about 8th grade is when I came to know her. And she lives in the neighborhood. Her mom's a really good friend and a prayer warrior and has been a part of helping this ministry get up and going. And we love their family a lot. But we're going to stop the story right there. And we're going to pray. And then I'm going to let Daniel take it over from that point. Okay, did I already pray? Okay, let's pray. Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this evening. Thank you for each person here tonight. May they relax. May their hearts be open to the message that you want to uniquely give to each one individually. Lord, you know their hearts. You know their situations in life. You know their fears or their frustrations, their angers, their joys, their triumphs. You know their family dynamics. We ask you to speak to them, Lord. We ask that you'd use the story tonight of Daniel and our family and our walk with you to proclaim your faithfulness. And Lord, to point others to you. And we just trust you, Lord, to speak through us. We love you, Jesus. Amen.
I'm not sure what take I want to put on this, but okay, so like Mom said, in 8th grade, that's when Gabi really started to hang out with my family a lot. With her living in the neighborhood, my younger sister, Kelsey, was really good friends with Gabi, and they were the reason. Well, I guess Kelsey and Gabi hanging out was the first time I really started to spend time with her, because they just come over and hang out. And eventually, we had a lot of other friends in the neighborhood, and we all just spend time together hanging out. So I guess you could say at around 8th grade, I began to like her. And, from about 8th grade to high school or 12th grade year, we really liked each other a lot. And I knew that I wanted to date her when I was ready to. So in 12th grade, I asked her to start dating me. To my family's approval and her family's approval, we started dating. And we did that up until this past December when I asked her to marry me. She said yes. So that's really exciting news. I was really glad she said yes, but pretty confident she would. So, but just give you a little more background. We grew up going to First Baptist together. That's kind of how we knew each other before, spending time in the neighborhood. So we always kind of had mutual friends, and throughout high school, we spent a lot of time together at church and just in the neighborhood. So since college, I spent my first year after high school at FSUJ here in town working on getting my associate's degree, and then I went to the University of Florida, where I also graduated this past December from. So two big things happened last month, and then she's actually at the University of Florida now. She'll graduate at the end of summer B with her degree as well. So that's exciting. And so we had the opportunity to spend a year together at UF. We got to spend a lot of time together there too. And being able to be there together before everything happened in December, I think was really good time for us to be working on building a strong relationship together prior to everything happening. But you should go Okay, well, so on December 3rd, that was actually the night I bought the engagement ring. And that day I actually went into the doctor for, I know some of y'all have heard, but I'll go and just give a quick summary. So that Thursday, I went into the doctor following class because I had chest pains for a few months prior. Just I thought it was inflammation in my chest, just regular things like work, doing weights and things like that. So the side effects I was experiencing, I thought it was just like somewhat common, and I didn't really think too much of it. And eventually, after my symptoms started getting a little worse, I went into the doctor. She was pestering me about it for a while about, hey, you need to get that checked out. It shouldn't be that bad because anytime like someone poked me like this or put pressure on my chest, it was causing some discomfort. So I thought it was just something with my ribs. Never thought too much of it. But eventually, I went in, and so after I met with the doctor. They said, okay, you need to get a X-ray. And the X-ray led to a CT scan. And the next morning, they called me and said my parents needed to come down to Gainesville. And they told me that when I met with them, my parents, the doctor said I had like one of three things, and it was Hodgkins lymphoma, germ cell tumor. So we found out the next week, I think it was the next Monday, that they confirmed it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then I think it was the 8th of December, I spoke at Ladies Night Out, kind of sharing that. So some of y'all may have already heard this, but so since then, I guess since that first Ladies Night Out, I've had 2 chemo treatments, and the current, my current treatment plan looks like for the next 4 to 6 months. I guess from the beginning, it's 4 to 6 months. I'll be getting treatment. And that's going every other week. I'll be getting chemotherapy. So I'm going to MD Anderson downtown. And basically chemotherapy looks like I just sit in a chair for like 5 hours. And I have a port here I can show you. Okay. So they just can stick a needle right into it. So instead of having to get an IV every time I go in, they just poke a needle in. And it doesn't really hurt at all. And I just have to sit there. And I have a little machine I can walk around with. So it's just like getting an IV, and they just put like chemicals in your body, so it's really not that bad. But because of all the chemicals, the goal is to kill the cancer, so the side effects can be, I guess, pretty strong. But thankfully, so far, the last chemo, they give you pretty strong medicine that you can take to combat with nausea and other side effects. And last time I didn't actually have to take it all but twice, so that's been a blessing, because the first time I did my first chemo, I took it like every 6 hours. I was taking a pill, and I was having really bad side effects from the medicine that I was taking. And the second time I realized, okay, I don't have to be taking as much if I'm not having any nausea, and I only had to take it twice, and both times it was kind of like, okay, I just want to take it to be safe. So my body's responding really well. They say that with me being so young, it's really helpful for everything. So that's been a blessing. And like I said last time, the hardest part for me for sure was telling the guys in my house that I live with, and then telling Gabi, because Gabi couldn't be with us in the morning. We had the doctor's appointment, so the whole afternoon we were getting tests. She was kind of, what's going on? Why is he not texting back? Once I saw her that afternoon after going to the doctor's office, we were in the car, and I was just crying, telling her. But like after that first 24 hours, like once I told like my roommates at my scholarship house in Gainesville, and then once I told Gabi, I feel like I've really had a strong peace about everything. Like I haven't cried once since then, except for when I share about that day. Like, and when I got engaged too, I cried. But the second time I cried about the cancer has been like that first 24 hours after. So I know, like, thankfully with everybody praying, it's been really helpful. And like, I think I'm doing really well. I still have my hair. The doctors say it's supposed to fall out this month, so it's still here. It's thinning a little bit, but I feel like confident now it will stay, but we'll see. So,
can you tell everybody how you received the news? Because one of the things we want to do as a family particularly the three of us, as God's given us a platform. Gabi just started a blog.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not a part of my Facebook page, I'd love for you to be a part of it, because that's where I am posting blogs, which I will be posting blogs, but that's where we're sharing some of the things. And I'm also posting Gabi's blogs on there. But we want to be real with you, with proclaiming God's faithfulness, but not masking that there's real feelings and real emotions that come with this news. But you can relate no matter what your situation is, because there's times that you're thrown a curveball. And if you're thinking, well, I don't have that right now, it's coming, because the life of a Christian is part of that is suffering. And through suffering, we know Christ better. And it's really a privilege, it's a blessing, it's a gift to get to know Christ on that level when we cry out to Him and when we need Him. So back to asking Daniel a question, and being transparent with everybody, how did it feel when you got that news as we're sitting there in the hospital?
It certainly came as a shock to me, and it's still like one thing that kind of, I guess, not as discomforting, but kind of in a way it is. When I go into get chemotherapy, I'm like the only person within about 30 years of my age. So I feel like at times it's like, you know, I shouldn't have this. You know, so young, it's extremely tough. And I think, you know, like the first 24 hours, like I said, it was, you know, having to take in the fact that you have cancer and, you know, coming to that realization, you know, that this is in me. And I think my mindset was, you know, it's in me now. The past is the past, and I just kind of have to take it a day at a time, and move forward and be strong with it. So I think having that, like a really positive mindset, you know, and knowing that everything's in control has been extremely helpful. So, but I would say finding other doctor's office, it was like, when it's kind of funny. My parents were like starting to cry a little before I was, because they said, you have Hodgkins Lymphoma. I'm like, what is that? And I think they knew that it was cancer, but I wasn't really sure what it was at first. So it wasn't until like when, I guess, about halfway through that appointment, like they did say that it was cancer. But before that, I was kind of like, I don't know what this is. So and they looked really upset at first. So, but I mean, aside from that, I think, like I said, the first, you know, after like the first day, after I told everybody, you know, it's not really been that terrible. So.
Okay, well, I wanted to tell you how my part of the story, after finding out that he had cancer, you know, when you get bad news, your mind has to land somewhere. So, you know, we go to church, we read God's word, we hear the pastor speak, we have dialogue with people, we memorize scripture. And sometimes when tragedy hits, we don't even consider the foundation that we have. We just start flailing our arms and floundering and freaking out. But none of that happened, because God had been preparing us through the journey of Kelsey with the head injury, and God meeting every cry of my heart, and me knowing that I could come to Him as is in Psalms and share bitterness with Him, and He transforms my heart. And He wants to hear directly from me fears and concerns and tears. He wants us as believers to know Him. He wants every emotion to be cast to Him because He cares. So I'd already experienced such a depth through difficulty with Kelsey and the brain injury that she had and bipolar things going on in our home, that I knew the depth of an intimate relationship with Christ. And so when this happened, you got to land somewhere, and the landing was rather quick. It was, you're sovereign. You are sovereign. You could have chosen any of our family members. You chose Daniel. You could have chosen any family. You chose ours. You could have chosen any method, car accident, you know, anything. This is what you've chosen. So day one, after finding that out, the next morning when I wake up, my first thought was, my son has cancer. The second morning when I woke up, I had a nauseous stomach. And that's always my body's signal that I've got to spend time with Christ and figure out, okay, identify what is overwhelming to me. I didn't have to spend a lot of time figuring out what was overwhelming to me. But that's kind of a process that I go, okay, am I upset with somebody? Did I wrong somebody that I need to make right? Am I not trusting the Lord fully? What do you want to do in my life, Lord? Because I can't live in a continual state of nausea. Now, he's going to take medicine for that. but I, as believers, we don't need to live like that. So I got up, and immediately when I was getting ready in the bathroom that morning, and I was talking with the Lord, it was almost an audible voice where he said, Rhonda, don't you see that this is a gift? This is a privilege. And because of what I've been sharing with you all, expect, period, trust, period, obey, period, because of that, deep in my life of expecting to commune with the Lord and hear his voice, I heard it. The next part is to trust. Yes, Lord, I trust this gift. It's wrapped in an ugly gift that we all call cancer. And you wouldn't choose to have this gift. But I knew God does things from experience, and you all have experiences like this, where he does things that are beyond our expectation, deep in our hearts, deep in the lives of our family members, my own heart, our walk with him, our relationship with him. And this is the gift. This is the means that he's choosing to draw us to him. And so I accepted, I trusted. And then the next part is I obeyed. Okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with that gift and the privilege? And that was before the last Cultivate that we had. And I had written 60 things right away in my journal. I have a gratefulness journal that I'm working up to 1,000 gifts in here. And I wrote 60, and I'm in the 900s. Woo! After 3 years, I should be more grateful than that, shouldn't I? And I wrote some things down in here. And number 897, well, I asked the Lord later, after all these gifts, I said, after speaking at the last Cultivate, Lord, can you tell me what privilege means a little bit more? I'm kind of confused on that word. I trust you that this is a privilege. But what does that really mean? Number 897, a privilege. A high calling entrusted to me to share the journey, facing the scariest word, to be real and to guide others, to let them peer into our lives. Rhonda has Cultivate, a ministry you've already given. Gabi lives at a scholarship house in Gainesville at UF with 16 roommates who know Daniel very well, because Daniel lived for 2 years in a scholarship house with 16 guys. A privilege for me to share with you all of God's faithfulness, to point you to Christ, to let you not be as fearful as I've been about the journey that God has for you. A privilege for Daniel to speak into the lives of those young men. And I don't know if you recall, but his group of guys lost a roommate this summer. Do you think God's at work in those boys' lives to experience these big things at such a young age? He's the one chosen to communicate, to be in touch with them, to point to an unexplainable peace when you're the one that hears that C word at the age of 21. And a privilege for Gabi, who has now started a blog, to be faithful, not to act like it didn't happen and to say it was so easy. It's no big deal. But to say it's tough, to be real, to point to the goodness of God in a journey of the unknown. And so we accept that it's a privilege. And you guys here tonight means the world to us, because we hope you take what you hear and you apply it to your heart, to your life, that your relationship with Christ is that much deeper, that you know him that much more and you long to know him like that, and you share it with your friends too. And then I put lots of different gifts in here. One of them is praying together as families, Gabi's family and our family, coming together, day 2. I'm gonna let Gabi tell you about that.
So the day after finding out about Daniel's cancer, I don't know if that's called a diagnosis, but okay. So after finding out about his diagnosis, Miss Rhonda was, I guess, really worried about me because I wasn't able to be there at the hospital. So she came over the following day to make sure that I was okay, to talk to my family, make sure they were okay. And we decided that that day, later on that day, that we would pray over Daniel. So my family came over here with the Ellises, and it was just a time of raw emotion. We just talked about how we were feeling. Ms. Rhonda said, I want to hear, like, really how you guys are doing. Like, whatever you want to say, like, just say it. Like, that's completely fine. Every emotion is fine. But this is the foundation. Like, still going back to, but this is how we're going to deal with it. And God is sovereign and all of that. So that was really neat to be led in that way, in a way of just complete peace. And we're going to calmly go through this. We're not going to freak out. And that's been really neat, just to be led in that way by Daniel, walking through this as well, because, as the man, obviously in our relationship, he is the leader. So that's been really cool, just to see him leading me so calmly through something that can be so terrifying. And yeah, that was just like, after that day of us praying together and crying together and crying out to God and claiming healing over his body and all of that, there was just such a sense of unity in our families, which was something that I had prayed for and have been praying for a very long time. So even that, I felt like God was like, here's a little miracle for you. Like, here's a blessing that I'm going to put through all of this of an answered prayer. So, yeah.
Gabi, can you let everybody know some of the real feelings that were expressed that day? Because it probably is how many people in this room would be able to identify with.
Yeah. So my initial feeling of first finding out about Daniel's cancer was, well, why? Why God? Why him? Why this person who is so happy, who is so joyful, who does everything right, who is such a good person. Like, why him and why his family? They do all of these great things for so many people. Why? Just why? I couldn't understand it, that initial thought. And I know that my dad and my brother, they both had those same feelings of, why? This shouldn't happen. This isn't fair type feelings. And, those are all real feelings to experience, and they're all okay. But after feeling that way, you go back to, there's a purpose and there's a plan, and God's plan is perfect, and he has a plan to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope in the future. All of those truths are real, and they're real even in the times where, we don't know what the future looks like, and we don't know what tomorrow looks like. That's when they really started to become real. But yeah, it was hard, and there were lots of tears and lots of those types of this isn't fair kind of emotions,
and even anger. Yeah, and those are real. And again, if if you're struggling with whatever situation that you have, God created all the emotions. He wants you to tell them to Him. But look at the Psalms and look how it's shown in there about telling God directly your feelings. Just tell it to Him. I remember being in the shower and like yelling, when we were going through things with Kelsey. And by the time you get it all out, there's this thing that happens supernaturally where you get it all out and then God engulfs you. And you might not say this exact phrase, but it's, but God. And when that happens, that moment of transformation of release into, okay, you're sovereign and I will trust. Then a gratefulness and a praise for our Creator, for the powerful God that He is. A deep trust begins to take over. And for some, it's a little bit longer process. Like if there's bitterness, it takes over and over and over. Or anger, it takes over and over. It doesn't mean, whoop, I did it. But daily, He wants to, so hourly, whatever it takes, He wants to know us like that. And we get to know Him better through whatever you're going through. That should be an objective. And bring your family along with you through these learning experiences so they know the foundation of turning to Christ, where to land when tragedy strikes or difficulty hits your family or a journey through the unknown. So I wanted to read you part of a letter. By the way, letters are really sweet. I know some people find it easier to write letters than others, but I was asking Daniel and Gabi, and I've asked other people, what are ways that you can help people? Would y'all like to know things like that? What are ways to help? Yes? Mm-hmm. Not just us, but anybody going through a difficult time. And a card is one of the sweetest ways, just encouragement and sending text messages or writing verses out in here or texting a verse. Just let God's word do its thing in there. But this is a card from a friend of mine who lives in Georgia. And she's a prayer warrior for us, and it's really sweet. She said, after reading a post that I had on Facebook about a gift and privilege, she said, you have received a gift, as you have referred to it, that many might see as a curse, a problem, bad fortune, etc. But truly it is a gift because God has trusted you to be worthy to walk this with Him. Not alone, but with Him. Thank you for glorifying God through this. Thank you for sharing and including us and allowing us to see God work through Daniel and your family. You are pointing our hearts towards Him, and that is a beautiful gift, a love offering. Isn't that sweet? A love offering to Him and for our benefit. Something that could be so devastating has not made you bitter, but has been a way for you to set your gaze in Christ alone. And this was so sweet because she helped me clarify the gift, the privilege. Like other people are speaking into my life and it means a lot. Some other ways that people have helped, and by the way, just because somebody else going through cancer doesn't mean this is the exact thing that works for them. Do you know what I mean? But the neat thing is if you expect to hear the Holy Spirit speak to you, just ask Him, what can I do for that family? And the second you have a creative idea that you didn't have before, trust, and then do it. Obey. As you continue to walk like that, you'll be amazed at how your faith increases. Because you have that front row seat with God, and He's talking, giving you ideas, and you know it's from Him. So some of the ways, tomorrow, a group of ladies are coming over here while Daniel has chemo, and Gabi and I are sitting there with him, passing out biscuits. We'll explain that a little bit. There's a group of like 5 or 6 ladies that are coming over here and cleaning our home and disinfecting things. Because y'all leaving some germs tonight. Okay, that's a joke. Can I say what come anyway? you have self-control. But isn't that sweet? And she even said, "Do you have a list?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I do baseboards. I mean, let's milk it, baby. The vents, the light bulb, the green pool. I mean, okay. So I think that is so sweet. And what we found is the day of chemo, he's so hungry when he gets home, even though he's been eating the whole time he's there. And for somebody to have a meal waiting for us is just makes me want to cry. It is so thoughtful. And Ashley, you have got to do some more speaking on your freezer meals. Ashley brought over here 2 gallon Ziploc freezer bags full of chicken. What was it?
Rotisserie chicken pasta.
Girl, not that Gabi was here or anything. It was delicious, and it was in a gallon Ziploc bag, and on it in black marker it said $3.50 for 35-40 minutes. And we just put it in the container, and you imagine getting a bunch of those? Can you imagine getting a bunch of those? We're eating together as a group and stacking those in the freezer. Isn't that sweet? Okay, that's a great idea. Another neat thing that happened was I called my parents, and they live right by Freshfield Farms, and I've been wanting to get, go on a grocery trip and get fresh fruits and vegetables, but I really hadn't left his side, and so I called my parents and I said, "Could you go to the store for me?" And they literally spent $200 because I gave them the exact list, and then they didn't let me pay them, so I gave them another list. But even if the other day a lady brought over a bag with a few tomatoes and some oranges, it was a bag, and there was a fresh fruit. It was so sweet. So that's something that you can do. Like if it's a random thought, just do it because God put that thought on your mind. So grocery shopping, if you're at the store or heading towards somebody's house, you could say, "Hey, I'm at the store." Not, "If you need anything, let me know." Hey, we'll let you know, honey. I'm at the grocery store. What fruits can I pick up for you? Or what do you have on your grocery list? I'm getting it for you. Stuff like that where you are saying, "I'm doing this for you." One of the things that, chemo, I thought people went through like a machine or something. I didn't really know what it looked like, but as he said, you're sitting in a chair, you got an IV going in you, and that you just sit there. And so last week when we were 2 weeks ago when we were coming home from it, he said, "You know what I crave when I'm there is something really warm like soup, or really cold like a smoothie or a milkshake." So have y'all ever thought, I never have, to go with somebody, drop in on somebody getting chemo and bring them a milkshake? Or find out, say, "Hey, I'm going to visit you. I'm on my way there, 30 minutes. What kind of milkshake you want?" See, if you say it like that, they're going to be more prone to answer. But if you say, "What can I get for you?" Nothing. That's true, don't we? God wants to use all of us in the lives of others. So those are some different ideas. When you guys share social media posts, that's telling people about Him, more prayers. It's also proclaiming Christ, isn't it? So I really value that and appreciate that. But what we're going to now talk about is this little thing that started up on the first day that we were there. He's sitting there getting chemo, and I'm just with him alone right now. Gabi would be there in about an hour. And I look around in this particular setting. They have different types of settings on the floor, but this particular one, there's people just sitting around the perimeter of the room getting chemo. And everyone was by themselves. And in all fairness, there are times when people would probably like to be by themselves because they can read a book and enjoy quiet time. But a lot of people have no one. And so it just hit me right then. Called John, his older brother, who was on his way, gonna come up and see him in a little while, and I said, could you pick up Chick-fil-A biscuits? And so he did, never asked for me to pay him back or anything. He picked up like 20 of them and brought them up, and he passed them out. And you guys saw a picture of that if you're on my Facebook page, of him reaching out. And then we just couldn't let it stop there. The next week, the next time that we went, his sister, who goes to school in Virginia, she was still in town over the Christmas holidays, and I wanted her to experience that and her to spend her own money. Because I think it's good that we don't hold on to things so tightly that we're not willing to do things for other people without being repaid. And she never mentioned it either, paying back, that is. And I said, hey, how about getting McDonald's biscuits this time? Because some of my kids have been talking about how that's their favorite breakfast food. So, back in 1999, when I went to McDonald's, I like your support. So she went to McDonald's and picked up a variety of biscuits, and then she went and talked to the different patients. And it was so sweet, and I got pictures of that. But you know who hadn't experienced talking with the patients? The patient. And so last week, on the off week, he goes every other Wednesday. So last Wednesday, Daniel went, and it happened that, Gabi's going to UF, but she came in town. And so I said, come join us. So, you want to do the ugly cry sometimes because something means so much when you stand back and you watch your child do something that is so big and so difficult and so out of character to talk to a stranger about cancer. So this time Chick-fil-A donated 30 Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Wasn't that sweet? And they said they would keep doing that. So shout out to Chick-fil-A. Forward that post, by the way. So now I'm going to let Daniel and Gabi talk to you about their experience on a day he didn't have chemo, where he walked around and met patients.
Okay, well, I can share first. But like I said before, one thing it's kind of hard for me going there is seeing the age difference. I was thinking it's tough when you're dealing with something in life and you don't really have anybody you can relate with, like at a similar age. So that's been a little challenging for me. So I certainly think when my mom asked me to go, I was like,
He didn't tell me that till right now.
I didn't share that with her, but
I heard, sure.
But I certainly think it's uncomfortable doing things like that for me. But I certainly think it was extremely rewarding to go and do that. So I'm really glad I did. I'm sure I'll do it again. But just going there and talking to people, you're exposed to so many different stories. And with me, I didn't notice this when my mom and Gabi were talking on the way home after doing it. The times that they talked with someone first, and then I shared with them what was going on with me, and I had cancer myself. They said it was like they completely changed how they looked, and completely changed the way they were talking to us. I think just being able to identify with people going through similar things is extremely meaningful. I guess I'm part of the cancer club. It certainly has its unique advantages at times. But just getting to talk with people and share with them on a deep level about, how I'm doing, how I'm handling things. And just talking with them, it puts things in perspective for me. That, I'm really blessed to be in the situation I'm in. I'm seeing some of those people, they might not have as much support. They might not be as young, just like physical things certainly affecting them, but also just emotionally the support. And I think being a Christian and just having like that kind of peace and that those people don't have is extremely, like for me, it's extremely meaningful. And some people there, I guess if you're going through cancer and you're not a Christian, I really don't know what people can, like, what hope they have. I'm sure that's extremely difficult. And the people there, they're open to sharing. I think with me, if I'm talking to someone, I like enjoying people asking me how I'm doing, things like that, because I feel like when you're going through a big struggle, you enjoy people asking about it. You enjoy getting to share about it just because, it's like, this is my life right now. And, it's such a big piece of life. I enjoy getting to share about it and just people asking me about it. So I'm sure with them, when they go sit in there, the nurses there are wonderful. They're really fun. I love my nurse. She makes it a lot more enjoyable.
I don't either.
The staff there is great. But I know that even there's a certain level of talking with your nurse just because she's your nurse, as opposed to talking with someone just walking around handing out sandwiches. That I'm sure means a lot to them. So even there was one, a lady in particular. She was probably mid-50s, and this was her first chemotherapy there. And she was shaking, and she looked so nervous, and her husband was there. And, she was asking me questions I was probably asking my first time there. She's like, dude, can I be around my dog? Just terms and stuff like that. I said, I think so. I'm sorry around my dogs a little bit, but just little things like that, talking with them and sharing with them. I can tell it's a blessing for both sides of people. So, I don't know if I want you to continue to talk about this. But
the nurse, when we first got there, she's like, "Hi, Daniel," because he has 2 chemos under his belt, right? 2. So she said, "Daniel, there's 2 ladies over there. It's their first time. Can you go help them?" Oh, he's the expert.
Oh, about that?
The lady in the corner.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Our notes.
But there was this lady kind of off in the corner, and she's actually from Yulee, which is kind of cool. I'm like, oh, we live right near there. And she had her niece, I think, with her. And she was just really scared. And you could just see that, she was just really fearful. And she started to cry when she was talking about her son who was having a really hard time, feeling that his mom has cancer. And we were just able to, we asked her, of course, can we just pray with you? And she was receptive to that. And we just prayed with her. And that was just so sweet to do for her. And then one person that really sticks out to me, and I know stuck out to Miss Rhonda, was this man who was all alone, probably late 50s, and it was his first chemo as well. And you could just see the fear in his eyes, and just the tears they would well up in his eyes, but wouldn't fall. And you could, we were asking him questions like, how's your, chemo going, and what's your treatment plan? And he couldn't even remember, he couldn't even gather his thoughts to talk about it. And then I was like, Daniel, tell him you have cancer. So he, once Daniel started to talk, the man was like, oh, and he just relaxed. And
You saw his shoulders soften, and clarity began to take place in his words and in his mind.
And he began asking questions, and Daniel was just able to talk openly, and that was just so neat to step back and hear Daniel just connect with a man who's so much older, and to provide him, his experience of what he's going through. And that was just really neat.
That was sweet. So this biscuit ministry thing, well, I'm gonna let Gabi take it from here, but to let her know what I'm talking about, I'll give the lead in that, expect, trust, obey. God put that idea on our heart. We just did it, not thinking, okay, now we have to do this every week. It doesn't matter. if God says to do it today, do it. And if he wants you to keep doing it, he'll keep putting it on your mind, and he has. And so
going along with like getting to peer into someone else's family, I've been around the Ellis family a lot, and that was not the first time that they've ever done something like that for people. You know, they will do things behind the scenes, they will take food to people, they will pay for your meal. I mean, from little ideas to big ideas, I've just watched them. I've watched Miss Rhonda say like trust, obey, and expect God to tell you, ideas and all of that when people are going through hard times, and she really does do them. So that's been really neat, just as an example for me, to have that in my life as an example, and to be able to do that as well, just in my life in different ways. But with the biscuit ministry, it started off as just a little small idea, and it's just so fun getting to see people's faces light up and all of that, and just being open to different ministry ideas that you can, like, I've done a lot of overseas missions, and sometimes there's a disconnect with your normal life here, and then you go overseas and you're handing out, you're kind of doing that same thing like overseas, handing out things and doing nice things for other people, but that should be how we live our lives all the time. So that was so cool for me to make that connection and be like, wow, like that's something so practical that you can do for someone here.
all about
Yes, so that was one of the funnest days for me, by the way, just going to talk to people, hear their stories. And we came back after that day to here, and Miss Melody Holland, I think, texted Miss Rhonda, and she said, oh, that's such a great idea. You guys should do that at the children's unit. You should do something for the kids. And I was like, oh, yeah. I really want to do that a lot. Like, let's, go hang out with the kids. And it's, being on this side of it now, before I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be scared to say the word cancer. I wouldn't know how to talk to people because that's such an awkward situation. You don't want to intrude in anybody's life, but now it's just normal conversation, and so that's been a blessing in my life to get to experience another level of ministering to people and doing that in a way that's not offensive. So.
Another thing that I want to encourage you to do, wherever you are in life, just continue to look for ministry right where you are. You don't always have to ask, Lord, bring a big ministry. Just if you have children at home that you're raising, God will bring it to you through the normal course of activities that you do. He'll put ideas on your heart to include your children in it. Like, just trust. Just be available and open to God doing that. But another thing when you go through difficulty is to be open to God on many levels. Be open to Him giving you a passion for a different type of ministry, or and something that you're already doing, more ideas for that. But He could be redirecting your job. He could be, it could be years of Him just putting ideas on your mind, and one day it'll all release at a certain time. He's preparing you for that. With Daniel, he just graduated. I found out he had cancer, like he said, 2 weeks before his graduation from UF in business. And because of cancer, he didn't pursue actually getting a final job. He's in kind of a holding pattern. Of course, my husband's already, and his big brother has already captured him, and they're having him work a little bit at their engineering firm, doing some business there. But this could be a season of God redirecting even a career or putting specific ideas. So as a mom, coach your children like that, to be open, be aware. This is cancer, but it's so much bigger. It's a gift. It's a gift of redirecting. It's a gift of a possible ministry, a passion. Like Gabi said, an awareness, now a comfort level of talking about something that we wouldn't have talked about a month ago. Not with this much comfort and boldness, and like asking people direct questions like, how's your chemo? What? I would have never asked that. And what kind of treatment? What kind of cancer do you have? You know what I'm talking about, right? You say, how are you? Like this. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So God has a specific journey for each one of us, including your children. And if you're going through something, use it all for teaching your kids. So I fully believe and have told Daniel and Gabi both, and my whole family, be open and get a journal out to keep track of ideas God gives you, of redirecting. Like maybe I'm not limiting God to this, but I throw out ideas so that they understand how to think big. Is Daniel has an entrepreneurial mind. Wonder what God's showing him through biscuits, through the machines, through him being the youngest one there, and him having this idea of, it'd really be nice if they had PlayStation on wheels here. Because we sit here for hours, you know what I'm saying? And we could, when my friend, his friends that come and visited with him, and or siblings, and for them to be able to just, they have TV, why not, PlayStation or something like that? So he's in the process of getting in touch with PlayStation to see if they'd like to donate one for the floor. And his sister works in advertising. You know who her client is? PlayStation! It might not help us, but I thought I'd throw that out there if you're watching. So, but it could be, entrepreneurial ideas about the medical industry, about even like how smooth their system is for check-in or check-out, or personnel, business ideas here and there. Do you understand? Like, lessons are all around us. So as you navigate your family and as you go through whatever God has on your plate for you, just say, Lord, teach me. Show me what to teach the kids through this. You chose this, I will accept. I want to know you better. You are sovereign. I want to proclaim your faithfulness. I want to experience a depth of an intimate relationship with you that I wouldn't have known if I couldn't have fixed this problem. If I could have fixed this problem on my own. Right? If we could do that, we wouldn't know him to the degree that he wants us to know him. So we talked about landing on a foundation of God's sovereignty no matter what we go through. That'll change your perspective. Okay, God's sovereign. He's totally allowed this. We're going to go through it. I'm going to know him. Gabi wanted to talk to you a little bit about how his promises have become so real.
So, growing up in church, and you hear things like, cast all your burdens upon him, he cares for you. And you hear things like, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and you have a rich heritage in the Lord. And then when you get the chance to actually put those promises to practice, that's when they start to really become real to you. And you start clinging to those promises, because that's something that, is such a great reminder when you're going through something that's difficult. Promises like casting your cares upon him. He cares about every detail, every emotion. So that's been neat, just crying out to God and the difficult, decisions being made, and just in daily life.
You want to say anything about that? The girls' basketball coach just walked in. Isn't that neat that she came? Came to your Another thing that we talked about was expect, period, trust, period, obey, period. You guys get that message? Because of being in a pattern for years of saying, Lord, I want to be obedient when you tell me to do something. I mean, for a lot of years, I've been asking, show me how to help people. An insecure me person that thinks that person had something difficult happen in their life, but they don't know me. I don't know if I'm a good enough friend to help. Just saying, Lord, I want to get over myself and my insecurities. And Him showing me the way to do that is to get my mind off of me and on to Him and just trust the idea that He's given me. And so years of doing that have laid a foundation for this incredible communion with Christ, where we just kind of talk all day together. And I trust. So that day in my bathroom where He said, don't you see this as a gift? I knew it was Him. And I didn't have any problem trusting. And the next thing was just to be obedient and to guide the family with that foundation. You know, there's a peace that resonates in our home. There's an unknown, like today when we went to the doctor. I could tell both of us kind of wanted to cry. We were so relieved. We thought his white blood cell count, you have to get your blood cell count checked before the day of chemo to make sure you're strong enough to have chemo. And last time it was low and he had to get that Neurolasta shot. Neurolasta. Let me tell. See? Just wanted to prove he knows his vocabulary. Neulasta, right? Yeah. Thank you for all of you that have gone before me and know that word. It's a doozy. But we fully expected them today to say that it was too low for him to do chemo tomorrow. And then I was wondering about tonight, what to do. And I just I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to, whatever, God's going to tell us the next step. And he said, your count is as if you were normal.
Oh, praise God.
Did you feel like crying a slight bit?
I don't remember how I felt.
I felt like that, and he did too. He might not felt like crying, but he is certainly relieved because we both looked at each other like, wow, that's awesome. And we just praise the Lord for that. But you know what? God is still good if his count was low because he's sovereign. So expect, trust, obey. Another thing I wanted to mention to you all is about peering into someone's life as a believer. If we're walking with Christ, we don't want to mask that things are difficult, but we want to show that God meets us in our difficulty. So what we've had on our plate here, or in our house, we've had a Brazilian student living with us for 2 months. And her mother was here. Her mother and her both came the week after we found out. So I'm thinking, I don't know what to expect. Does the world stop? I'm not really sure yet. And God reminded me I'm sovereign. And he also reminded me of a time that I spoke at a retreat. And we were doing the special plate. And I asked this lady, my friend, to choose somebody at the retreat. So this older lady came up to the front and another lady said why that lady was special. And you've seen me do the special plate before. If not, look at the last DVD on our website. And so this lady looked at the older woman, and the lady's my age, and then the older woman's older. So I'm actually really old. But anyway, so she looked at her and she said, I just want to thank you. When your husband went through cancer, instead of pushing the world out and being secluded, you let me into your home. You let me peer into your life. And when I hit tough times, which I did, I reflected back on your lives, your peace amidst difficulty. And I just want to thank you for that. And instantly, when I was thinking about the days ahead and having the Brazilian mom and her daughter live with us, God is sovereign. He knows what he's doing in their lives. He knows. So welcome in. Another thing that we had on our plates is my son, John, who also went to University of Florida. One of his roommates from college was here for temporarily working with a construction company until they moved him to Miami. And that 1 month became almost 6 months. And he just moved last weekend and we really miss him. He was part of our life. He helped Heather with her math homework. Come back. But he peered into our lives from the time our families got together and Daniel sat right here with everybody around him, with hands on him, my hand right here where that biggest mass was. He was part of that. What if I would have closed the doors to the ministry right at hand? Perhaps that young man will take into his family one day, praying over his child or praying for another man in a difficult situation. And we all just gathered around Daniel and prayed for healing, prayed for God to go deep into our hearts for us to know him more. So we talked about God's sovereignty, the foundation we land on, how his promises, it's an opportunity for his promises to become so real. Expect, trust, obey. We talked about looking with a generous eye, although I didn't use that phrase, where you are looking for ministry, hearing God's voice and doing a biscuit ministry or whatever it is he puts on your heart. We talked about the gift, the privilege, and that's not just true in this situation. It's true in your life. It's true now where you are. It's a gift to be a mom. It's a privilege on those terrible days. Do y'all have this? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a privilege because in your weakness, he is strong. And you can know his strength. And you can tell your friends about what you're reading. You need to be in God's word. So that's what spills out. We also talked about a grateful heart. When our viewpoint lands on God is sovereign and we trust him, then our perspective will be to look for his goodness and to look for all the blessings, the gifts, and take it as a privilege to walk through life proclaiming him, pointing to him. We also talked about ways that you can help, but it goes far beyond the little ideas I shared, because God is a big God, and he will give you unique ideas that are for your life and the walk and the people that you meet and the different challenges and situations that you are in. So, in closing, is there anything else that y'all would like to share?
For me, yes. I think this time has, I would say the timing of everything is difficult because this has been perfect. Right at graduation, I was expecting to be having a job, but, this certainly changed everything and, just hearing from the doctors and focus on treatment for the time being until, you can pursue that after your treatment's done. So this whole time, I think, just from the beginning, it's been evident that God's been in control of everything. Still for me saying that it's kind of weird. It's like, he gives me cancer, but it's still in his control. And I certainly think that, a lot of times we as humans like to compare ourselves to other people. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's like, I sometimes laugh at like someone on Facebook put, I lost my phone, having a terrible day. And so I'm like, it's like me, I have cancer, like that's so much worse than, it's like even for me, I might laugh at them, but it's like, just in the Bible, stories like Paul, he goes to prison for his faith, and it's like, he would laugh at me, for cancer. It's like I still have family, I have support, I have a home, a place I can come home, lay my pillow, lay my head on the pillow at night. So, I think just like for me, it's like at times I can think, this sucks. This is really terrible. I hate this. But it's always that, there's always going to be people who are dealing with so much more. And I think, it's like, people might be praying for me, but, there's other people who I can be praying for this time. And, God's certainly using this. Not only is it like a challenge for me, but it certainly would be a blessing at the same time. Like my mom said, it's a gift, and I think even just like listening tonight to her share, puts in a lot more into perspective for me. And I certainly think we'll probably never know in our lives, what God will use this for, and to the extent, that this will be used. So, like my mom said, I love your prayers. Just be praying for me, especially the guys in my house. I haven't really been supposed to leave the house because of germs and stuff, but hopefully in the next month I'll be able to visit them and just spend time with them in Gainesville. So just prayers for them, prayers for the girls at Gabi's house. At both of our houses, there's people who it's not a Christian house. There's lost people there, and we both have examples of people we know who God's at work in their lives, and so just for them, to maybe come to know Christ through this situation, just like one life coming to know Christ, certainly makes it a huge reward. Just something small like that. So just in prayer for those around us, because as difficult as it's been for me, the relationships we have with our close friends at school, God can use it. So.
Thank you. And the Bible verse that has hit me so many times through this, as I think about a gift, is that God is doing exceedingly abundantly beyond, above all that we can ever ask or even imagine. I see 60 things just off the top of my head, 60 gifts, boom, 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 boom. That's nothing. His mind is so big. He's aware of how everybody's intertwined and what he's doing in Gabi and Daniel's relationship through this, and our relationship through this, and his relationship with his brother, and what he's doing in his sister's heart, and each of you. It's beyond what we can even comprehend. So take the gift, whatever ugly wrapping it has, and say, Lord, I want to use this difficulty for you. I want to know you more. I want to experience you turning every human emotion into trust. I want to experience peace. Peace that's undescribable because of you, through the unknown. I want to know you like that, Lord. I do not want to waste a crisis. You've given us this gift. May I know you more. May Daniel know you more. May Gabi know you more. And each of my family members, and each one of you. May they know you more. And not only that, ladies, my heart's desire is that you live out Christ. Few Christians really operate according to the power of Christ in you, where he tells you to go this way or that way and to minister to this person. And the transforming power of any human emotion, anger, bitterness, frustration, vengeance, hatred. He knows all that. Give it to him. Give it all to him and experience the transforming power of Christ. Let's all walk like that. Use the journey that God has uniquely given you as a gift. Use it as a privilege to train your children, to tell your friends, to point to him. And finally, that's the end of that. But I thought y'all might want to hear a little bit from Gabi about their engagement, and then we'll be done.
Wait, first, show it off. Nice. Very good. Carry on.
Love the neighbor.
So share about that day.
Well, let me give a lead in. This is something I asked for permission from Daniel to share. I don't think Gabi even knows this. So we're in the hospital finding out this news. Daniel, as he said, had ordered the engagement ring the night before. Gabi didn't know. we knew our family was excited, etc. As he lays there in the hospital bed, dealing with the news of cancer. He says, "Mom, I don't want to ask her if I'm going to die."
Mm-hmm.
And to hear your son say those words, it's pretty tough. To know the feelings going on with him, where he's considering his life, his future ahead, that's big. And I can't fix it. But God is sovereign, and I just have to trust. Be there to listen to him and to help navigate him and trust the process as he clings to the Lord through this. Well, as you can tell, they did get engaged. But Gabi had no idea who bought the ring. Daniel was lying. I'll just tell you that. But I wanted you to kind of hear, that Daniel, tell him how, like, maybe your side and then lead into Gabi's.
Okay, well, I asked her on December 30th, so just a few days after Christmas. And like my mom said, I did want to make sure with the doctors, their thoughts on everything. And after, I think maybe like I don't remember what appointment I had, but probably a week or so after I found out, they said you should continue your life as normal. Try to live as if nothing has happened. So given that, I still was really excited about asking her, so I wanted to do that soon. And my sister who works in California and my sister from Liberty in Virginia, they were both in town on Christmas break, and so I wanted to ask, well, my whole family's here because it's only once a year at most that they're able to be home together. So I wanted to do that during that time period, and they were leaving. My sister Alexis in California, she had to go back January 4th. So I wanted to ask, before then. Gabi's mom is hosting a group of Brazilians. They flew in mid-December, I think, and they're still here. So their family's been extremely busy with stuff. They were extremely busy with stuff during the time I was trying to ask her. So it was hard finding time to meet with your dad first. Like, okay, I have to meet with you about the car. Can you meet with me about the car like this Saturday? So I was like trying to ask him about, asking Gabi, but I was having to make up excuses to meet with him and stuff. So I think I asked him the day after Christmas, I think it was the day after Christmas. Christmas on Friday, I believe. And then I asked him that Saturday morning went to breakfast. And Gabi was still asleep, so she had no clue that we had met. But it was that next Tuesday. Was Tuesday night Christmas party?
May I interject that her dad said he wants to be like Daniel when he grows up? That's a good line for you guys.
He was extremely nice and eating, and it was a great time at breakfast. But so I don't remember the exact date of the week off the top of my head or not. Things mixed up.
It was on a Tuesday.
Okay, so we had a family Christmas party the night before I asked her, and I told her, don't be expecting anything anytime soon. With everything going on, I haven't even had a chance to look. So I told her the next day. I told her that we had a doctor's appointment at 4:30, and then at Christmas I got a gift card for PF Chang's, which is like our favorite place to go. So I was like, we'll go to PF Chang's at 6 o'clock. And maybe like in between we can go walk around at the UNF. They have like trails. So I ended up getting to her house and I was like, oh, the doctor's appointment's canceled. So then we can go walk around earlier. So you can share the rest. So.
Yeah, so he got to my house and said the doctor's appointment was canceled, and I was like, huh? That's kind of weird. Like doctors don't usually, cancel their appointments or anything. So I just thought, well, maybe they're disorganized. I didn't think that he had this whole other thing planned. He was like, yeah, this is going to be the best date ever. We're going to go to dinner and a movie. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And then he asked if he could pick out my outfit. And I was like, all right, that's something that he's done in the past and could picked out an outfit. So he picked out a light dress and a cute little outfit. So I was like, okay, sounds good. It's actually, no, I'm just kidding. Fashion design. But yes, so then we head out to UNF and we're walking around and he's like texting in the car, texting while we're walking. And he was like, yeah, I'm just in a funny group chat with my family. We're sending funny pictures. And I was like, okay.
I was texting my older and younger sister. They were hidden in the bushes.
I can't wait to show you all the pictures.
I communicate with them very discreetly about the timing of everything because me and my sister went the day before and kind of mapped out where exactly we want her to stand, the angles, and lighting for photos. So the photos are turning really well thanks to my sister's photography skills. And I had to position Gabi just right. I actually moved her.
They had a GoPro and the leaves, and Daniel's like, and she just does it.